clear of the closing doors, please.
Welcome to Subway Sports Talk. My name is Peter Kennedy, and I am your host. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning into SST on Apple Podcast app, Spotify, and on YouTube. It's Thursday. It's time for picks, baby. Back again. Let me start here. Not back again. Mark Shenloogian hiding from the smoke again. 0-3. Couldn't come here to show face. He had to go to a preseason hockey game. Whatever, Mark. One day you might listen to the podcast. One day you might join the podcast. But for now, you're 0-3. We will read your picks later. But we also got Patty Boyle, Patty B in the mix off a 2-1 week. Pat, what's good, brother?
What's up, Pete? Winning week. We're going 3-0 this week. It's time to start busting some nuts here and bust it open. That's all I'm going to say. Let's go.
Between me coming at Shen for no good reason, actually maybe for good reason, right off the rip, and then you coming out with that type of energy, Cody O'Connor, I don't know how you're going to follow that up other than the fact that you are in first place in this picks competition.
Thank you for that, because I had no idea how to follow that up. There is no following up that act, man. That's like going behind a legendary comedian and you're just on stage for the first time. You're like, well, I got nothing to follow. Pat, well done, man. Let's bust some nuts tonight, boys.
You're a glorified open micer, and Dave Chappelle just took over the stage for an hour and said, all right, buddy, you're back up. And now you're like, no idea. No idea what to do.
Nothing left.
What we do have an idea of what to do with our pick. So quickly to recap, if you listen to the episode earlier in the week, we did a little recap, but I'll do it again right now. Your boy, Pete Kennedy, 0-2-1 in week 3, bringing my record to 4-4-1. Mark Shenloogian, as aforementioned, 0-3, bringing his record to 4-6. Patty B, 2-1, bringing his record to 5-3. And right, no,
you're off by a game.
Six, and by on all of them, or just yours? Math? What?
I think Mark would be 4-5.
Wow.
And Pat 5-4.
And I would be 5-4.
Golly, this guy over here with the numbers, it ain't working. Anyways, so you are 6-3, Pat. Why am I struggling so hard right now?
Well, I was 5-4.
Cody O'Connor is 6-3. Did I get that one right?
You're right about that one, Pete. That's the one that matters. The guy in first place.
You want me to help you out, Pete? Cody's 6-3.
There you go.
I myself, Pat Boyle, 5-4. You are 4-4-1, and Shenloogian is 4-5.
You know what? I blame the Saints for tying. I think the tie's in my head, and I'm just going to use that as an excuse. But I'll just leave the podcast now. I'll send my picks in on Instagram and have a good night, guys. Now, so let's do it. Let's do some picks here. Pat, you're so confident. Why don't you go first then? Patty Boyle up first, looking for a 3-0 week. You're going to kick us off.
Yep, and we're going to go same game, Patty Boyle, parlay teaser right out of the chute. I said on the podcast on Tuesday night, previewing the game of the week, Bills-Dolphins, and I was like, you know what, I don't know how I feel about this. Probably going to end up betting it, and here we go. It's my favorite pick of the week, and it's going to be Bills plus 3.5 and under 59.5, minus 110. That's right, I'm taking the under, so shove it. Only babies play the under. That's not true. Dolphins score 70 points, right? They're going to just keep scoring a bajillion of points. Isn't that correct? Not quite. Sean McDermott has actually done a pretty nice job with Tua in the head-to-head matchups that they have faced. Tua Tagovailoa has a quarterback rating of 59 in the all-time head-to-head against Sean McDermott's Buffalo Bills. And look, Miami's offense, they have been electric. They've been legendary, right? I mean, but let's act like there's not regression in the NFL. Let's not act like Buffalo's defense hasn't given up, 13 points in the last 2 weeks combined? They're going to get pressure. I'm expecting Jordan Poyer, who is the only questionable right now, I'm expecting him to play. So that secondary is going to be ready for any kind of over-the-top action Miami's going to try to throw and get some explosive plays. Look at how Bill Belichick played against the Dolphins, right? How he schemed 3 high safeties, take away the deep ball, force everything underneath. Sean McDermott, probably going to watch a lot of that tape, say, okay, my secondary is pretty damn good as it is, but they're probably still going to play it comfortable, probably go 3 high safety, a lot of cover 3, force everything over the middle, force everything to the sidelines, and just trust that this defense has been solid enough that they're not giving up 28 points, right? And they might not even give up 24. I'm expecting, with all the hype and all the talk that Miami has been getting, home game for the Bills, Bills Mafia, 1 p.m. game. They will bring the heat. They will rise to this challenge. I think they win the game and cover the game outright. But again, 2 things that I'm pretty comfortable is that Miami's not hitting 28 points in this game, and the Bills are not losing by more than a field goal. So there you go. Josh Allen, again, you go back to week 1. Yeah, look, they've lost to Zach Wilson and the Jets now the last 2 years. They have annihilated the Raiders and the Commanders since. This is now the early season stretch where the Bills keep cooking. This offense has looked phenomenal. So again, I'm expecting Bills defense to be the difference maker here as you see some regression with the Miami offense. Bills plus 3.5, under 59.5.
Real quick, Cody, before you jump in, 2 things. If I could have bet on you making that bet, I would have, and I would have cashed it. Obviously, you gave us a little tip on the Wednesday podcast, but it's a classic Patty Boyle special. That's why we call it that. The same game Patty Boyle teaser, and it makes perfect sense here. Everyone wants the over because they want to see the most exciting, the Tua and the Dolphins running up and down the field, the Josh Allen exciting plays. The under has to be the sharp play here because so many people are just like, oh my God, it's going to be a shootout. However, second thing, if you count the 4 sides of the ball, right? Offense, defense for both teams, not including special teams. The worst unit is the Dolphins defense, right? That has to be looked at as the worst unit. So I think that lends nicely to your Bills' little thought there. So Cody, take us away with your first pick.
All right, here we go. Like Pat, my first pick is usually the one that I feel the best about, the most confident in. It's a 2-legger. I bought up both legs, and we're starting with the Ravens at plus 7.5 playing Cleveland. Division matchup, 2 teams that I think are pretty evenly matched. Probably a little lower scoring game, not just because of the division battle, but because they're 2 good defenses. And I just don't see that game being any more than a 1-possession game. And if it happens to be, I think it's because the Ravens are the team that wins by more than 1 possession. I think they come out and they win this game outright. The Browns looked really, really good against the Titans. The Browns also lost to Pittsburgh, who is another good team, but a division rival. So I think it's 1 score. I think it is close. I feel very comfortable taking it at 7.5 as opposed to just the plus 3, but I would take the plus 3 alone. I'd potentially sprinkle the money line if the DraftKings account situation looks good enough after tonight. By the way, Detroit up 7, we cashed. Leg number 2 is another team that I'm buying up, the underdog I'm buying up in this situation to 10.5 is the Vegas Raiders. This pick has a little bit to do with Vegas and their ability to keep games close and move the ball like we all alluded to on Tuesday's podcast. It has a lot to do with the fact that the Chargers never seem to win games convincingly. No matter how talented they are, no matter the fact that Justin Herbert just completed the ball 40 times for 400 yards, that was still not only a 1-score, 1-possession game, but it was the thriller we all expected that ended in an end zone interception. So the Chargers' ability or inability to win a game convincingly by 2 scores, and Vegas is a frisky, tough team. All right, so I just think if I can get them up to 10.5, I feel very, very comfortable there. Again, a team at 5.5, I feel good enough taking them at that number because I think it's a 1-score, 1-possession game. So Ravens plus 7.5, Vegas plus 10.5. I do believe both are on the road, and I forgot to put the numbers in, but I think that one was something like minus 102. It was something around there. I can get that final number for you shortly.
It'll be on the graphic, and the graphic does not lie, as we know from week 3. The graphic don't lie. And congrats on that win on that. Unfortunately, though, David Montgomery just stole my boy's touchdown right there. Jahmyr Gibbs did not get the chance to run that one in. And Montgomery, the super exciting, everyone loves him and has him in his fantasy lineups and bet on his anytime touchdown. David Montgomery just scored a 1-yard touchdown. Super sick. But I'm glad you won your bet, Cody. Anyways, thanks. I will move on. Oh, go. What'd you say?
Well, I said thanks, but I actually have Montgomery anytime touchdown in the same game or so. Fingers crossed that can hit for us too.
You dog. You too, Pat? The both of you?
Sharing a brain here.
Oh, yeah.
You both have Montgomery anytime touchdown.
I actually have Amon-Ra in one, and I have Montgomery in the other. So
I gotta leave.
Ecstatic.
I gotta go. Woo! I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye. All right, I'll do a pick though, at least, or maybe 3 before I go. So I'll do my first pick, and this one is it's going against what we talked about a little bit on the podcast on Wednesday. I think we called this team out as one of the most worrisome upsets of week 3. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars at home in London at 9:30 a.m. East Coast time, -3 against the Atlanta Falcons. The other shoe has to drop. with the Jacksonville Jaguars offense. They're moving the ball right now decently well. They're right in the middle for total yards, but they're top 10 in passing yards right now. They are getting the ball up and down the field. They are just not converting. They're not getting enough action inside the red zone. The other shoe is going to drop. Also, the Atlanta Falcons, they are not moving the ball right now. They are 26th in total yards in the entire NFL right now, and even lower when it comes to passing the ball. I think this is a game where the Jacksonville Jaguars can run. They're due for a get right. I think this is one of the get right spots for them. Trevor Lawrence is too good of a quarterback to be one of the worst third down conversion quarterbacks in the NFL right now. At this point in time, they are just converting, and I lost my spot here. Here we go. They're converting on only 29% of third downs. The other shoe has to drop when Trevor Lawrence is your quarterback. The Atlanta Falcons, it makes sense that they're only converting 30% of their third downs because Desmond Ridder can't shine Trevor Lawrence's shoes. So I'm betting on Trevor Lawrence to get right. I've been betting on them all year long. I have futures on them. I think this is one of the spots that they can turn around and do the right thing and play well here. They're going to be in London for 2 weeks. They're there. They're comfortable. They've been there before. All these players have been there before outside of like the Calvin Ridleys and the new pieces of the world, but a lot of these guys have been there, and they're going to get it done. I am feeling confident in the Jacksonville Jaguars -3, and that is my first pick. Patty B, back to you.
Yes, sir. Sorry, I wanted to make sure I didn't let out like a half cough with my mic unmuted. So we're good to go there. And I was also just double checking on who's going to be playing Sunday for the Carolina Panthers. And it is going to be Bryce Young. And that is why I am taking Cody's 2022 Team of the Year, the Minnesota Vikings, money line in a 2-leg parlay. And the other leg is going to be the Chiefs -2.5. Vikings money line, Chiefs -2.5. That's -115 odds. Look, at a certain point, this team's got to win a game, right? All the regression from last year, all the one-score games that they won last year that they're not winning this year. The defense still sucks. Kirk Cousins is Kirk Cousins. Come on. Stop it. This is a perfect parlay leg here. Vikings, I think, are only -218 on the money line right now on DraftKings. I believe the spread is at 4 or 4.5. 4 right now. So, again, I mean, you want to tease them. You want to parlay them. I love the Vikings any which way. I know they're on the road, but come on, Bryce Young has been horrendous. I would actually be a little bit wary if they're putting the red rifle out there for the Panthers because they actually moved the ball and put up points against Seattle. But, I mean, come on, Carolina is terrible. This is a game, the Vikings, they have heard all of the noise all week long. Justin Jefferson saying, I'm tired of hearing about trades, about Kirk Cousins trade talks. I'm tired of hearing about my future. We just need to fix some things. They are going to be angry Sunday in Carolina, and the Panthers home crowd ain't going to stop them. Bryce Young sure as shit ain't going to stop them. It is the new nightmare. Although this game is on the East Coast, so it is 1 p.m. local and 1 p.m. for us as well. It's still, you're getting new nightmare Kirk Cousins. This is the game where Minnesota puts look, I mean, they might not make the playoffs at the end of the year, but they are winning this game. And for my analysis for the Chiefs and the Jets, here you go. Zach Wilson.
They're my 2022 team for a reason, and I'm glad I left them there.
There you go.
I think we lost you for a second there, Patty, but finish your last sentence again.
Yeah, sorry. Hopefully it comes out clear on the pod. But here's my analysis for Chiefs-Jets. Zach Wilson's playing quarterback. Chiefs -2.5. I'm probably going to take the Chiefs on the actual spread Sunday night by itself, which right now is 8.5. But I mean, no more analysis needed. Vikings money line, Chiefs -2.5. That's -115.
Our group chat in DraftKings is still called the Minnesota Kennedys, I believe so. So it's not just Cody's 2022 team. It was Kennedy's 21 team. And yeah, let's go. I can't wait for my second pick, but Cody, you're up next.
They were my darling. I'm so glad I got to leave them, though, because they are left on a good note with me. And I couldn't agree more, especially with the part about Bryce Young playing over Andy Dalton. It kind of spooked me off taking Seattle money line last week, albeit they still won. That red rifle was putting up some numbers, so I like that. All right, pick number 2 for me. A division matchup. I am going with another team that I'm going to buy up, so seemingly there is a bit of a trend here for me in my picks this week. The Tampa Bay Bucks are playing the New Orleans Saints, and I do not know right now about Derek Carr. I believe he is out. Can anyone confirm that as we're talking live right now, or is he still up in the air?
I'm like 99% sure he's out.
I believe he's out. And we saw what that team looked like when he went out last week. They blew a 17-point lead very late in that game, could not get anything going with Jameis. And at worst, I think that's a one-score game. Again, kind of similar to that Ravens pick. I just don't see that team, the New Orleans Saints, winning by more than one score. So if I can get the Bucks up to 8.5, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to feel very, very comfortable because although the Bucks lost that game to the Eagles pretty convincingly, they also won 2 games before that and are at worst a frisky team. But they're pretty good. They can move the ball. Mike Evans is still a dog over there. They got Rachaad White. They got Baker, Chris Godwin. The defense is healthy. That's a good team. I think they're winning that game outright, even though I hope I'm wrong about that for my Saints futures. But get me up to 8.5 with them, and then I am going to break one of my own rules. Pete and I talked about this pre-show. It is something that Pat and Mark both absolutely love to do. And I almost never do, but I just feel more comfortable than taking the money line here. I am going to go through the 0 and buy the Bengals up to plus 4.5 against the Titans. I, again, think they win this game outright. I almost never do this. I almost never go against just taking a money line there. But I do feel like it's just a more comfortable pick for me. It's going to get me to minus 108, which I feel very good about with those two teams. The Bengals come off a massive season-saving win on Monday night against a pretty good Rams team, and I think they keep it rolling. You hope that Joe Burrow is more healthy. I think there's a chance that the Bengals actually just beat the Titans the way they just got beat last week by Cleveland. I don't know that the Titans have any firepower on offense. Derrick Henry's not really getting the ball right now, which is concerning. D-Hop is less than 100%. Ryan Tannehill is still the quarterback. And with all those things combined, if I can get the Bengals to plus 4.5 on the other side, I feel fantastic about it. So the Bengals at plus 4.5, the Bucks plus 8.5. It's minus 108. There's pick number 2.
2 things on that real quick. I just saw Derek Carr technically listed as questionable, but did not suit up for practice on Thursday. So it's looking like he's not going to play this week. And who knows, maybe it'll only be a 1 or 2 week injury. It was talked about as being like a 4 week, but maybe it'll only be 1 or 2, which will be a win for the Saints. But it looks like he's not playing on Sunday. And on the other front, with the going through the 0 thing here, Cody, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but in what we're trying to do on this podcast, trying to keep those odds at near, plus 100 to minus 120, then it's worth you buying those points. If you're putting this bet in on Sunday yourself, yeah, put it on the money line and get that to plus 115 or something like that, because then it's worth it. But that's not what we're really trying to do. We're trying to keep all the bets that we take in that plus 100 to minus 120, 125-ish range. So that makes perfect sense that you would utilize that in this scenario, because I'm with you. I don't like to do it. Those feel like some points that aren't as valued. However, you still cross valuable numbers if you want to call it the 3 and the 0 as valuable numbers. So I'm with it. It makes a lot of sense to me. My next pick, I'm aligned with our boy Patty B on one of these legs, and I'm excited to call this the disaster parlay. I can't wait for something to go wrong in this one. I got the Minnesota Vikings money line and the Los Angeles Chargers money line. They're minus 218 and minus 238. That gets us to plus 107. So in theory, I could probably do the same thing as you. However, it doesn't work as well because the Vikings with 6 points go only to 2.5, and the Chargers at 5.5 only go to 1.5. So I don't get through that other 3. So for me, I'm just going moneyline parlay, Vikings Chargers plus 107 to all the things Pat talked about the Vikings. I'll reiterate some of it and add on to it. Even when the Vikings lose, they put up points. Yes, they only put up 17 in week 1. That was a weird game. The Buccaneers kind of took the league by storm in week 1, if you will. In the loss to the Eagles, they put up 28 points, albeit some of it in garbage time. And in the loss to the Chargers last week, 24 points. They just put up points consistently all the time, no matter what. The Panthers' strength is defense. The Eagles' strength is defense. The Buccaneers' strength is defense. The Vikings still put up points and get a lot of yards. The Panthers' offense, however, is not going to be able to hang with Kirk Cousins and them boys getting a whole lot of yards and a whole lot of points. Bryce Young playing, just like Pat said, I agree. That's another feather in the cap as why I feel good about the Minnesota Vikings. They also need to win to keep any semblance of hope alive for the season. This is basically a loser leaves town match. The Panthers are losers no matter what for the season. The Vikings have a chance at least to be kind of relevant still because they have that offense. So I trust them to make the move and make it look good on Sunday. The Chargers are home against the Raiders. Probably going to be more Raiders fans than Chargers fans at the game. We know how it goes out there for the Chargers in Los Angeles, but it is what it is. The Chargers are a way better team. Getting that first win, getting off the schneid is huge for them. They're going to put up a whole lot of points against the Las Vegas Raiders because the Vegas Raiders defense, it's frisky. They got some juice, but they're not that good. And their offense is also just not that good. They're still going to move the ball a little bit. They got Devontae Adams. They're going to be, a decent team to watch, and they're frisky, but I think the Chargers are still going to be able to take advantage and win this one. It's a huge game for them. They have to get it done, and they're going to. Justin Herbert continuously proving that he can do all, and without Austin Eckler, it's not a problem. Mike Williams out, not a problem. Joshua Palmer is going to step in. A lot of people picked him up in fantasy. He's probably going to put up at least decent numbers. And Keenan Allen, can we give him a shout out? My guy has been a monster so far this year. So I'm not worried in the slightest about the Chargers offense continuing to be good and continuing to put up points. I don't think the Raiders offense can hang there and be as consistent through 4 quarters, even though when you watch them, you see some drives where you're like, look at this team. I wish the Jets can do that. I wish the Giants can do that. The Raiders can do it, but only a little bit and not as much as the Chargers. So I love the Chargers money line. I love the Vikings money line. 2 teams that are famous for losing stupid games. They played each other last week. They both tried to lose. They both tried to win. The Chargers came out on top, but in this week, week 4, Vikings win, Chargers win. That's my second pick at plus 107.
If I could really quick, similar to my bet last week, taking the Chargers over the Vikings, that is not a bet for the week. You better have the stomach for it if you're going to tail Petey on this one. That's going to be a fun bet, dude.
A lot of gumption you need on that one. Oh, man, a lot of gumption.
Hold your nose.
All right, final pick for me. 2-leg parlay. I'm getting some points on each here. And, Cody, I'm actually opposite on you with the thinking in this one. Leg 1 for me, Browns plus 4.5. And the second leg, Rams plus 4.5. So both Brownies and Rams catching 4.5 points. That's minus 108. I'm a guy, I'm not afraid to tease through the 0. I know you're not supposed to do it. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to do it, right? I've done it before. I'm going to do it
Bust
again.
That nut.
And I'm going to keep doing it. So I'm confident in it. I think that this Browns defense has been unbelievable, and I get it. They played one-legged Joe Burrow with basically 0 preparation in week 1. They played the Steelers and Kenny Pickett in week 2 with the worst offensive coordinator in America, Matt Canada, and they played Ryan Tannehill and the Titans in week 3. But Dems is the facts. They have given up 188 yards per game so far through 3 games in the National Football League. This defense is legit, right? This front with Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith coming off the other edge, and their linebackers, Notre Dame guy, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who I'm a big fan of, the way that he's able to control the box and play like a hybrid safety at times. And maybe one of the best names in football, Sione Takitaki, who had a turnover in their last game. They've stopped the run very well. They have created turnovers. They have wreaked havoc. The Browns should be 3-0, if not for 2 defensive touchdowns by the Steelers and Highsmith and TJ Watt game-wrecking that one a couple of weeks back. And I know Deshaun Watson apparently is they're like limiting his throws in practice. I think he's going to be fine. And he's going to be inconsistent still probably for most of the first half of this season. But last week, I mean, what more could you ask for? 27 of 33 for almost 300 yards, played turnover-free football. So I think this Brownies defense is legit no matter who they've played against. And I'm not overreacting to the Ravens' loss last week. I mean, if you guys remember on the podcast, I said I actually took the Colts' money line in the early win, hoping that at least maybe they'd get off to a good start, and they actually won the game outright coming from behind. It's because Baltimore is still banged up. I mean, they're the most injured team in the NFL every single year. So out of all these guys that have injuries that either didn't play last week or got hurt on Sunday and are questionable, Justice Hill, Odell Beckham, Rashad Bateman, the offensive lineman Ronnie Stanley and Tyler Linderbaum, and then in the secondary, Marlon Humphrey, Kyle Hamilton, Odafe Owe, and David Ojabo and the linebackers. All of those guys are a little bit banged up. Even if half of them play, this Ravens team is still missing several key starters. So I just do not think at this point, at this game against a Browns defense that looks as good as they have, that they can keep up with that. So I think the Browns win the game outright. But again, I'm taking the 4.5. And then with the Rams and the Colts, if it is Gardner Minshew starting this game, maybe I'm a little bit more wary. But same situation, like I like the Vikings even more, is that Anthony Richardson is probably going to start. He's back from out of concussion protocol, and he's great with his legs. He's a mobile quarterback. He might give the Rams linebackers some trouble when he takes off and runs, but he's not nearly as good at throwing the football as Gardner Minshew. So he's not going to be able to drive the ball down the field like Minshew was able to do, at least a little bit against the Ravens. And I just think this Rams defense, which looked, again, pretty damn good against Cincinnati, I think the Rams offense is due for a big bounce back, right? That offensive line and Matthew Stafford was getting crushed under that Bengals pressure, under that pass rush. This Colts defense, the ability to create pressure against the quarterback is not nearly as great as Cincinnati. And again, Richardson, rookie QB. I believe Sean McVay, coming off a loss, is 9-2 against the spread in the last 2 years. So I like the Rams here. This is a pick 'em. I think they should be probably closer to a field goal favorite. And remember, they shut out the Seahawks, this defense, in week 1 in the second half, beat them by 17 points. They held with the 49ers for most of that game week 2. Just because they looked bad and it looked like Cincinnati controlled most of that game on Monday night doesn't all of a sudden mean that this Rams team is now is going to be a mediocre team like a lot of people thought preseason. They're frisky bisky. I like Stafford to bounce back here. And again, it's Richardson, rookie QB. I'm happy to take my chances that the Rams don't lose this by more than 4 points. Rams plus 4.5, Brownies plus 4.5.
Looks like we got a couple what I like to call sandwich opportunities for the boys this week, right? Where we can kind of hit in that middle number. Everybody wins. Everybody's happy. I like to do that sometimes. I don't know if you guys ever do, to hedge a bet. You ever have the last leg of a parlay? You take it up on the other side and hope to hit the sandwich. That's one of my favorite things to do. Yeah. So, no sandwich here. Solo pick. Not one I'm particularly confident in, but I've noticed throughout the years that sometimes my lean ends up being better than the pick that I'm super confident in, for whatever reason that is. So I'm going with a lean here, last minute, but no excuses. They're going to get it done. It's a straight pick. The Steel Curtain, minus 2.5. They're on the road playing the Houston Texans. And the Texans did look pretty damn good last week. But I'm banking on that being a little bit more of the game that it was. There was some weird stuff in that game, like the kick return for a touchdown by, I believe, a fullback, which when they showed that on Red Zone, I just was baffled and losing my mind as he just kept going at like 11 miles per hour. Is what it is. Steel Curtain, not letting that happen. Right? Yeah, he just kept going. So I don't think the Steelers are letting that happen. They looked good last week offensively, which was a little surprising the way that they came out the first 2 weeks. But Kenny Pickett had his first multi-touchdown passing game in his career, and I'm banking on them keeping it rolling. I'm banking on that defense being able to shut down C.J. Stroud and the Texans' offense that did look good against the Jags. But this is a whole nother monster in the Steelers, and I think they are just starting to get it rolling. So the Steelers, minus 2.5, minus 112 on DraftKings. I'm going with the straight pick here. I'm banking on them to be able to do the things I said, to control the game, and to probably put the Texans back to where they should be, which is a bottom-tier team still. So Steel Curtain, minus 2.5, minus 112, pick number 3. Let's get a 3-0 week. I'm sick of the 2-1. Give me 3-0, baby.
All the people who showed up on this podcast tonight deserve a 3-0. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying this, Pat, this one's for you. Officially, right now, I think we deem when you buy through the zero, I think we got to call it busting the nut. That's what it is. When you buy through the zero, you're busting the nut. That's what it is. Okay. So you
busted my first nut tonight.
Cody busted his first nut tonight. Pat busted his 100th nut tonight. I'm yet to bust a nut, but I'm going to do it at some point, I think, because I want in on this party. You know what I'm saying? It's a nut party, and I'm trying to bust. So that's what it is. I'm just going for it. Right, not yet. We just got Pat out of his chair. Oh my God.
We're off the
I'll
rails.
join you guys with that party at some point. Oh man, I can't wait to join that party.
The nut
But for my
party is on a bust.
I'll move on to my third pick.
What a line.
My third pick's also going to be a straight bet. I'm joining you, Code, on the 2 straight bets here today. And this one, I have some numbers to back up why I'm feeling this way. A lot of people get scared off these types of numbers. I ain't scared because this team, they don't play with their food. They don't hide their food in a tree waiting to bust all their nuts in the winter. The San Francisco 49ers let it rip from day one, down one, all day, every day, which is why I'm going -14. I ain't scared of the Arizona Cardinals, San Francisco 49ers, straight up -14. That's my third pick, but here's why. In their last 16 wins, because they had 13 wins last year, they got 3 wins already this year. How many games do you guys believe they won out of 16 by over 14 points?
I'm going to say 8.
Cody?
6. That's my number.
11.
Damn it.
11 of their last 16 wins have been by over 14 points. They had 9 last year. They had 2 already this year, over 14 points. This team doesn't mess around. When they play a tight game, it's a shocker. They don't get their backs up against the wall because they just push through the competition every single time they get a dub. They did it against the Steelers in week 1. They did it against the Giants last week in week 3. Yeah, they had a tough one against the Rams in week 2. That took the league by storm. The Arizona Cardinals are taking the league by storm, but I don't care. That's not something that's going to last. They're still 1-2. They're still a bad team, and this is the absolute perfect opponent to get reminded why you're expected to be top option for the number 1 overall pick in the draft. The 49ers, like I said, they don't play with their food. We know what their offense can do. They're top-tier offense. They're elite on defense. They're the best coach in the NFL, perhaps arguable, but a lot of people will say it. So I'm going straight up -14, San Francisco 49ers. Let it rip. They're going to make it 12 out of 17 wins by over 14 points.
That's
there
my
it is.
survivor pick, baby. Let's roll.
Yeah, it would be nice to say that would be my survivor pick this week, but the Cardinals already blew it for me last week with the Cowboys loss.
I got to give a full disclaimer. I'm in 2, right? 1 was the Chiefs pick, which is a winner, but I did take Dallas. However, this is the pool that is double elimination, which is a weird survivor wrinkle, but it is double elimination. So I still got life, and I'm going Niners in both, which I haven't done yet this year, but that's how confident I am. Let's roll, Pete.
Yeah, let's go, baby. We love that. We love that so much. This other one is not one of my 3 picks or anyone's 3 picks, but I'm going to call it the 2 coward to take it pick. I told Cody about it before the show. This pick just is screaming to be taken. It really, really is. You got the worst game of all time being played at 1 o'clock. It'll get brought up on Red Zone. There'll be jokes about how pathetic both of these teams are. All you do is make fun of the Broncos and make fun of the Bears. But you have to remember, these teams get made fun of for their offense, but they really get made fun of for how pathetic their defenses are. You got to go over 46.5 on the Broncos Bears. It's so bad. Justin Fields might run for 150 yards. Russell Wilson might throw 3 touchdowns. It might be 30-27. I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be mayhem. But if I wasn't such a coward, I'd take over 46.5 on that game, because how often do you see 2 of the worst teams in the league with an over-under that high? They're begging. They're saying, Ed, go ahead, take the under for these 2 trash teams. They're going to score points, but I'm too much of a coward.
I like that. I like that pick, Pete. Maybe I toss that in a $10 to win 1,000 10-leg parlay.
Yes, that's what you do, and then that's the only one that misses, and then you hide for winter as well, and hope you have some nuts in the tree. Let me read Mark Shenloogian's picks here, so we cover all of our bases. We got Shen only 8 legs on the picks this week. Pretty impressive stuff out of him. So here is Mark Shenloogian. He is 4-5. Here are his 3 picks. His first pick at -120 got the Lions +7.5. Going back to the Thursday night again, since he's putting his picks in before we record the podcast, so we are allowing it +7.5, which is looking quite nice at this point in time. Lines up big in the first half already. Ravens +14.5, and the Eagles money line. That's Shen's first pick at -120. His second pick, he's also on the Jaguars, but he's got him at +1.5 because he busted that nut. And he's got the Chiefs money line. That brings his second pick to -110. And Mark Shenloogian's third and final pick, He's got the Saints at +3.5. Not worried about Derek Carr versus Jameis Winston. Thinks that defense, which is quite good, will hold up in week 4 here. They should have held up in week 3, but who's counting? The Rams, Colts under 59.5. He teased that one up quite a bit as well. And last but not least, he's got the Cowboys and Patriots under 54.5. So a couple unders for Mark Shenloogian with that last pick at -115. I see a head shaking. I see laughs. What are we thinking about Shenny Boy's picks over here?
It's just absurd. They're just absurd. Are you taking 14 points on an over-under for?
It just sounds hilarious. 59 is nowhere near the total of that game. It's just
46.
funny to hear. It's just funny to hear.
I downplayed it. I was like, he bought a couple points.
You really don't like any other games that you're buying 13 points on the over-under.
I didn't even know DraftKings let you do that. I didn't even think it went up that high on the little app scroll.
Like that leg itself is probably like -1,000. and I gotta laugh. The Jags are 3-point favorites. He's taking them +1.5. Just take a money line. What are you doing?
Yeah, he could have. Yeah.
No, they might lose by a point.
You know what? It goes one of two ways, too, because the Jags end up losing by 1 and Shen's a freaking genius. Or the Colts-Rams game goes 33-30, and we just make fun of him so hard because he didn't hit under 59.5. The Colts could kind of move the ball. Like, I don't know. The Rams, too. I mean, their defenses are both solid, but I mean, it's just straight mayhem.
I would play the over in that game. I would like, if you're going to take 13 points, get the over-under down to 33.
It's so good. It's so good. I love him. Well, he's 4-5, so it's not like he's blowing it to this point. 2-1 in week 1 and 2, and then 0-3 in week 3. So we'll see where Shen ends up. Again, I was 0-2-1 in week 3, Cody 2-1, Pat 2-1. We're going to try to get some more winning weeks. The wins are still flowing. The group total still above 500 right now for the boys. So we're feeling good in general. Week 4, any last words before we say goodbye?
Let's keep the good times rolling. Keep the money flowing in, boys.
There we go. I will be local this Sunday. I won't be in New Orleans. And I got to tell you, I'll say this as my last words. Being in a brewery, beautiful place, Urban South Brewery down in New Orleans. What a place. And we're watching the game. And it's a little quiet. You know, first half, there's a little birthday party. It looked like a kid birthday party, if I'm being honest, which is brewery, weird place. But there was a beautiful spot, a lot of games. It looked cool. Parents were loving it. So it was a little quiet first half, then a Saints score. Everyone's hype. 17-0. All of a sudden, Derek Carr goes down, and you hear across the bar, and it was like the air's out of the room. And I haven't seen a bar clear out so fast, in a long time, when they lost that game by 1, when they missed that field goal. And all my friends who didn't have a wager on the Saints, well, some of them probably did, but I definitely did. It was also my pick on the podcast, which I care more about than my unit of a bet. And I'm like, oh my God. And my friends were like, yo, wouldn't it be funny if we like cheered if they missed a field goal? I'm like, no, absolutely not. Don't do it. Come on. We need this. And then they missed. And my friends were all like, and I'm like, wow, I hate this. I want to leave. And then I got the first flight out of there. That's all we got. Subway Sports Talk, week 4 picks in the books. We have a very exciting interview on Subway Sports Talk next week. Emmy Award winner. 23 years writing on one of the most famous shows in American history. That's what I'll say. That's a tease. Great interview coming up next week. More picks coming up next week, more football, maybe some baseball talk next week as well. That's all we got for Cody O'Connor, for Pat Boyle and Mark Shenloogian. I am Pete Kennedy. Cheers.